Hey there everyone, it's AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monster ecology and strategy videos on my channel, such as the A to Z list of all the monsters in the core monster manual, as well as many others. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing, as I upload at least twice a week, and thanks to everybody who hits that like button, much appreciated. Time for some more artifacts, since a lot of interest was generated from the last one, which is great because I love artifacts. They have so much potential and really can send the campaign off in some amazing directions. So today I'm grabbing my trusty Book of Artifacts published in 1993. We're going to have a look at the Book with No End and the Codex of Infinite Planes, two powerful and of course very dangerous items which are still in circulation across the multiverse. For this video, much like the last one, I'll be reading directly from the source material with my thoughts and some little details about the artifacts and how they include them in the game. The main issue most people seem to have with artifacts is, well, on the DM side of it, there is this belief that artifacts will always go out of control and ruin the campaign. On the player side, there is the fear that artifacts are always cursed and will spell the doom of any player character, and I guess ruin the campaign. This is not 100% the case. I mean, the Dungeon Master can simply veto any negative effect, curtail any usage, impose any restriction, and introduce any complication or barrier to the use and operation of the artifact. It is literally under their complete control, because the whole point of artifacts is that they're outside of the usual rules of magic items. Most of the time, artifacts don't even register with the usual detect magic spells. It requires something more powerful, like divination's ritual called the Legend Lore, which is a 5th level spell, so uncommon, and it takes 10 minutes to cast, requires 250 gold worth of rare incense, which probably requires knowledge of religions. It also consumes 4 strips of ivory worth a total of 200 gold, which speaks to me that this is of celestial nature. So the spell description says that the caster names or describes a person, place, or object. The divination magic brings to the caster's mind a brief summary of the significant lore about the thing they just named. The lore might consist of current tales, forgotten stories, or even secret lore that has never been widely known. If the thing they named isn't of legendary importance, they actually gain no information, which raises the question, what if they're the first to ever encounter a new magical artifact? Is legendary simply a category, or does it mean there must be established legends about and around it? The more information the caster already has about the thing, the more precise and detailed the information they receive is. So it's an expensive but invaluable magical spell known by any artifact hunter, and of course learned sages become much more famous once they know this spell, because they can garner further information, more and more information every time they cast it. Who doesn't want to die horribly or cause some devastation when they use magical artifacts? It's definitely a spell to use, as we shall soon see. The Book with No End is a modest-sized tome with covers bound in the hide of a hatchling red dragon and hinged in gold. The clasp is also gold, and it's illuminated with sickles emblazoning the front and the back. The pages are made of thick parchment, smooth and uniform, and each is edged with gold leaf. Despite its curious name, the book is exactly 100 pages long. Weighing about 8 pounds all told, the book is notably mundane looking. Doesn't look particularly magical, doesn't glow or anything like that. The history is it was created by a wizard that nobody knows apart from the name Magus. No direct records of this wizard exist, his ambitions, or the means by which he created the book. But several sages have spent time in the study of this item and agree that, based on the magical properties of the tome, Magus was striving to make a device of some considerable power, no doubt for world domination or a similar unattainable goal. Whatever the ambitions of this Magus, his wizardly skills were not up to the task. So essentially this is a failed magical item. There is little doubt that he created an item of considerable power, but his workmanship was flawed. Tales say that his greed for power made him rush through the work, taking shortcuts where time and patience would have been better rewarded. Blind to his own mistakes, he managed to create a device that consequently devastated the entire countryside the first time he attempted to use it. Instead of granting him the power and mastery he desired, the Book with No End pushed an already unstable wizard over the brink of sanity into madness. Since Magus's day, the book has appeared several times, sometimes with beneficial effect and sometimes to the utter woe of all who find it. It supposedly provided the power needed for the wizard Vorst Dixon to overthrow the hated Lich King of the North. That would be on Greyhawk. It was also supposed to be the cause of the madness that seized the wizard scholars at the College of Fire in Halverston, a madness that ended in an explosion of that academy and devastation of Halverston's port. The entire port went up in flames. It's clear from these and other incidents that the book is intended for wizards, and even that they must handle it at their own peril. The current whereabouts of this book are unknown, of course. They always are. Deceitful rogues have been known to pass fake copies onto gullible wizards. This is really much simpler than it sounds, since normal detection and magical checks are known to fail on items of magical artifact level power. In the campaign, the Book with No End is an acceptable item for player characters to find and use, although prolonged use risks the death of the entire adventuring party, as we shall see. Because most of its effects last only as long as the PC has the book, it's possible for it to be introduced and removed with little long-term damage to the campaign. Because of the book's ordinary appearance, it is possible for the characters to obtain it from someone who does not know its true value. It's equally possible that the characters might have no idea what they have. They just basically pick it up amongst a bunch of books. This process of discovery, either by accident or the result of plots and schemes of others who seek the book, constitutes an adventure in and of itself. Discovering and deciphering the riddle of the book may also be part of a greater adventure. In this case, there is a greater threat to the player characters and the world, possibly the appearance of an even greater and evil artifact in the wrong hands. The book then becomes a desperate but useful means of defeating the foe. Once the book has served its purpose, it's best removed from their campaign. Wise player characters may do this on their own, otherwise it may have to be stolen, or worse still, the curse triggered. Of course, at least one player character will have to die to save the others in that case. The powers of the book. All the powers found in the Book with No End, whether constant or invoked, are found on the specific pages therein. The book only has 100 pages, far shorter than the infinity the title implies, and of those, only 27 have anything on them. Well, the rest of the pages may have pictures on them, as we shall find. Reading any page is only possible with the use of a read magic spell, with one spell needed per page. A suggested list of pages and powers is given above, which is a table, which basically just tells you whether the nature of the spell, whether it's divination, conjuration, personal enhancement, movement, planar magic, that sort of thing. And suggested, the DM can freely rearrange or alter these pages as the player characters read them. It is a responsibility to track each page number for later use of the players, so the players actually need to map the book as they use it. The constant effect, wizards in possession of this book have all of their spell potencies increased by 150%. That's range, duration, area effect, and damage. In addition, the personal enhancement powers are in effect anytime the wizard is touching the book. So if they've used personal enhancement powers on the pages found within the book, this would be the equivalent of like Eagle's Splendor and that sort of thing. They have to keep hold of the book in order for those effects to keep on working. The invoked powers only were used when the wizard opens the book on the correct page and reads it aloud. A read magic spell is not necessary for the second reading after they've already interpreted one of the pages, so they can choose to note where that page is and then find it later. The curse is PCs of classes other than wizards suffer 5d10 points of electrical damage on a successful saving throw versus spell. It's necessary to halve this damage upon opening the book. So anybody who's not a wizard who picks up and uses this book essentially gets tased hard. The user also risks artifact possession with each page read. Those possessed seek to lead in all things and eventually to rule absolutely. So they become megalomaniacal and seek to rule everyone around them. Every time an invoked power of the book is used, there's a 5% chance of triggering a monstrous devastation as the animus of the book drains 10d10 points of damage from every creature within 100 yards. An owner that is killed becomes a picture on one of the book's blank pages, and if you look through the pages of the book on page 27 is a portrait of the Magus himself. The only means of destroying this book, although it looks mundane, it is actually indestructible, except for these very specific circumstances. Each page must be incinerated in the fiery breath of a red dragon. That's each of the 100 pages. Or the spirits of those trapped in the book must be freed somehow. Or when the pages are filled with images of its owners, its power becomes lost and it winks out of existence. And that is the book with no end. It's fairly simple as spellbooks and magical artifacts go. The Codex of the Infinite Planes is a bit more complicated. The Codex is a massive tome, far larger than any book has a right to be. It's said that 2 strong men can barely lift the volume. The covers are made of flawless black obsidian, and the pages therein are sheets of lead hammered so thin that they flex like paper. These are illuminated with strange writing in languages unknown and illustrations both beautiful and horrific. No matter how many pages are turned, there is always one more. The history, no one knows the origin of the Codex or what its original purpose might have been, except that it is known as Yagrax's Tome. The first mention of the Codex ties it to an unnamed wizard priest who tyrannically ruled ancient lands now sunk beneath the waves. The source of his power, the book, was also the force that sunk his empire beneath the waves. Only the Codex survived. The secrets of its use were apparently lost with the wizard priest. For now, it is notorious for madness and death. After a life of study, the Archmage Sunk actually found the artifact shortly before he vanished from the world. Of his extensive writings, only fragments survive, and most of these are ravings about a beast and how Sunk came to rule the city of brass. In campaign use, the Codex is powerful and dangerous, and should only be introduced into high-level campaigns when the DM is willing to use the Outer Planes. Because of its terrible curse, it's not an item characters should have long access to. The Codex can be introduced through a series of strange catastrophes, unnatural events of outer planet origin. A wizard, driven mad by the secrets of the Codex, has breached a barrier veil in the Outer Planes, unbinding a great horror. The characters must find and safely use the Codex to send the creature back, perhaps even battling it on its own realm. A good example of that would be unleashing a Tarrasque. Invoked Powers of the Tome. All powers of the Codex are triggered by reading, if one knows where to look. The Codex can open a portal to any plane, demiplane, or prime material world at any location. The book, however, has no index or table of contents. The only other known power is to summon a greater fiend to serve for 24 hours once a month. And you can also give it random minor spell-like powers and major spell-like powers, which is fairly typical of an artifact, that they quite often left slots open for the DM to make it new and fresh every single time the players encountered one of these things in the campaign. They never really know what it's going to have, and reading back through source material is never going to give them the full story because it's new every time the DM introduces it. The curse of the Codex of the Infinite Planes: every page read, whether useful or not, has a 1% cumulative chance of triggering a portal, an awful fate by accidentally opening the wrong portal. Irreversible madness, the arrival of a greater Tanari, a 10-mile radius cloud of deadly poison with no saving throw, or worse. No character can read more than 99 pages before doom befalls them. So essentially, the portal opens to somewhere extremely dangerous in the multiverse, the heart of a star, something like that. Suggested means of destruction of the Codex: it cannot be destroyed, only safely hidden where it can cause no harm. Every page of the infinite pages must be read, or one page of the book opens a portal upon the book itself, wiping it out of existence in a random act of weirdness. And that is it for our little artifact video today. If you've liked this, please let me know down in the comment section down below. If you've got any particular favourite artifacts from the history of D&D that you want me to cover, certainly let me know. Axe of the Dwarven Lords, Artifact of Qualash, something like that. And thanks for listening, everybody, and I will be back with more for you very soon.